Sorry, Butterfingers. Benita Lee here. You're live with Virtual Book Club. I've got Hal Guerin from Florida, Stephen Ing from New York, Michelle Frenier from Vermont, and we're all here to talk about 1929. But I had a question for Stephen before we went live, and he was just about to get to. Like I saw the audio is off. There's echo and everything. But I saw mini icebergs, like the East River or the Hudson River frozen over in pictures when they had that snowstorm. And I was just asking Stephen if he knew if those were real, or if it was AI generated.
Oh, I remember now. No, no, it really happened. They're real.
Ooh. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was not only Manhattan, but also like smaller streams like out farther east in Long Island were also completely frozen over. Same thing with the Long Island Sound. That's one of the bays out east. Completely ice, solid.
Wow. And
Yeah.
Vermont too, Michelle?
Oh, we are frozen. We have 8 new inches of snow today in my neck of the
Wow.
woods, which made roads really nasty. But tomorrow I get to spend some time with my kids' ski group. So that's how privileged
Yay.
these Vermont children are. Public school, but because we live so close to the mountains, they give us some interesting opportunities, and the kids get to go up. The whole school is going. They do like a program. So if you need scholarship, you can have it if your family can't afford it. But they bring 100% of the school to the mountain to teach them to ski or snowboard. So it's kind of cool if you're going to be miserable in the cold, you might as well get to do some fun things. But
Yes, I
yeah,
agree.
so I get to chaperone and help a bunch of wily fifth and sixth graders tomorrow. So wish me luck.
That is cool.
Fun. Well, Hal, it's just you, Florida, and Calgary that are sunny today. I don't ever get to say that, so I thought I would hop on that opportunity.
We're finally above freezing in New York.
Oh, wow. Um, yeah, I'm just curious, but I'm not sympathetic at all, I find.
You're ruthless.
I totally am. It's like now you know what it's like when you live in a place that it's like colder than Mars at some point, like a lot during the winter. I am ruthless. Um, 1929. The people that we read about in this book are also quite ruthless. Maybe not in their own minds, but like that saying goes, good intentions, right? Good intentions.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's right. What would I do without you guys? So I don't know how far you guys are in. I'm not very far in. Like I'm just taking my time. Apparently,
I'm
I'm.
taking. Sorry, sorry to cut you off. I'm taking my sweet time. I'm on chapter 17.
Oh, I'm.
Hello.
I'm way behind you.
It gets interesting. Don't worry.
Oh, it's
No idea what
interesting.
chapter number I'm on, but I'm on 38. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll finish it this weekend.
Well, I was thinking it was such a long book. It's like, how do you really talk about it in concept, right? So I did mark like a few things that I found interesting. Um, but I know Hal couldn't do that because he has a library loaner.
No, I've got a purchase book.
Oh, you found a purchase.
I've got the real deal, but I
Oh,
haven't
nice.
been highlighting much of anything.
I think I'm mostly highlighting things I didn't know, and like he he tells about the inside the greatest crash in Wall Street history and how it shattered a nation. But he talks about like the players behind it. Maybe Hal should explain.
Well, I mean, that was one of the observations I've had. Is I don't know what I should have anticipated, but I thought, for reasons just because my brain wanted the book to be this way, was more about the um, public's reaction to the market crash, and the fact that banks were closed and people couldn't get what little money they had and all that stuff. And it's really more about the people behind it.
Mm. Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, I mean, you know, the I think it was 1932 that there was a record number of suicides in the U.S. by some big order of magnitude at the time, um, and it wasn't apparently what the newspapers were sensationalizing, like scads of people weren't jumping out office windows. I mean, yes, that did happen, but it wasn't like what was apparently, sensationalized from a reporting standpoint. But so far, the book kind of just doesn't cover any of in any real detail, the public reaction. It's all about the key people and players.
Yeah, isn't that what you were expecting? Like,
Like I said, I didn't know what I was expecting, but as I'm a good chunk of the way through, you know, I would say I found it very interesting, and
mhm.
it's certainly informative, but it's not captivating. It's not like I can't not put it down. I can read a few pages and put it down pretty easily.
Mm.
But that's just me. One of the things I will say though is that, one of the reasons why I do find it interesting is I spent half my career in banking.
Yes.
So, a lot of the things that are referenced, were all things that were still pervasive in US banking well into the 1980s and 1990s. So when they talk about Senator Glass, where there was a big act passed, the Glass-Steagall Act, which basically separated out commercial banking from investment banking. That was a result of this period.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of discussion about, Senator Glass. And so I find that interesting because, I experienced the prohibitions on being able to do certain acquisitions in banking until Glass-Steagall Act was lifted, which wasn't until the latter part of the 1990s. Back in those days too, there was no interstate banking. So if
Oh, right.
unless you had a reciprocal arrangement with another state, you couldn't cross state lines. And it was this fear that the rest of the country didn't want the whole United States controlled by the big New York banks.
Oh.
And
Right.
so, so without any more detail there, because it's boring, but that I
No, it's
find
not
that interesting.
boring.
I
The
find that
normal
interesting, but if you haven't, if if you're not, into, banking like my career has been, you can just kind of just let that stuff flow right over you, and it doesn't mean a whole lot.
No, I find it interesting because it's new information to me. Like I didn't know these things. Yeah. Sorry, Stephen, you were going to say something?
No, no, I wasn't going to. I was just thinking that, like, I also find it interesting because, because, like, I'm not in that industry.
Right.
So I guess my expectations weren't really that high. Like, I didn't really set that high of a threshold for this book. I just wanted to experience it from, like, from the inside views of, the key actors that were involved from the inside. Like, I wanted this book to read like um like a fiction, so I don't want to say like a fictional novel, um but uh but I didn't want it to be like boring, like a high school textbook, and so far it's lived up to my expectations.
Okay, yeah. I don't know where I read about like sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, that was background noise. You can continue.
Mm,
I find it interesting, though, that because I find it on. I'm trying to figure out the words I want to use. That it's done that the book has done so well on bestseller lists because I'm trying to figure out the people that would be buying it, in that type of volume. Now granted, there's gamesmanship that can be done to get and keep your book on a bestseller list by how copies get sold. But I mean, the looking right now, the Amazon rating is 4.6 over 7,000 ratings. Goodreads is 4.3 with almost 15,000 ratings. And um, I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I'm reading it. I'm learning a lot about that period that I either didn't know or casually knew but really didn't understand. Um, but I can't imagine rating it above a 4.
yeah, I don't think I would rate it I feel like it's going to be a 4 for me.
70% of the Amazon raters gave it a 5.
Oh, really?
No,
Wow.
you get it. I just don't. Sometimes I don't understand the psyche of how that happens.
I'm wondering if any of those reviewers were super fans of the author, because we also have to consider, like, the author's reputation. He's pretty prominent on CNBC,
Yeah.
because of his work on on Squawk Box.
Oh,
Yes, he is a highly recognized.
I didn't know
Um,
he was the Squawk Box person.
Yes, he is.
Is he the host?
He might he might be.
I thought that we didn't have access to, well, maybe I don't because I'm in
You
Canada.
you probably don't because you're in Canada.
Yeah, that's why. Because I
no,
only know of Squawk
Canadians think it.
Box.
Canadians think Americans are idiots these days, anyway. So
No, I don't. I don't. I
if I
just
were in Canada, I'd think Americans were idiots these days.
no. One person is not a reflection of an entire country. Yeah, yeah. There's good and bad people up here too. Like honestly,
I'm sure.
and you're not hearing what's coming out of our province. Um, like at one point, I'm sure Michelle knows this. At one point, Quebec wanted to separate. Quebec wanted to separate from Canada, like in the 1980s.
Yep.
And they almost did it. They almost did it. There was like assassinations. It got pretty serious. And then now, like Alberta wants to separate from Canada. So that's where I live, and Alberta is where all the oil reserves are. And the separatist movement has gotten so loud, and everyone is like pointing fingers at each other. Like, if you're a separatist, then you are also a MAGA. Like, and to me, like, those two things don't match up. Like, just because you're a separatist or you have a mindset of a separatist doesn't mean that you agree with like MAGA views. So I don't know. It's weird stuff happening here too. I mean, you guys would think we're
Wow.
stupid, but you don't get the Canadian news because it's not all that exciting.
You don't think you don't think it's as exciting as American news?
Um, I mean, they try to make it, but there's this whole CRTC thing too, like the Canadian Radio and Telecommunications. I can't remember what it is, but we don't get the same news as you, and you don't see our news. Like, it's like the conspiracy theorists would say it's because, like, you know, the news is controlled by the government and the government wants to control you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this book club is fun to me because I'm learning about views that I no longer have access to. Like, while I was in the States, I could see the US news, I could see the American news. But when I'm not in the States, I can't see it. It's blocked.
Yeah, and you've lived in multiple states, Benita, so for you there was no shortage of differing economic and political viewpoints.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of interesting to me. Like, um, yeah, there's just a far, like, more people, right? 300,000 versus 30 million, or 300 million, sorry. 300 million population versus a 30 million population. Like, with more people, you're going to get more perspectives.
Hmm.
So, yeah, no, I find all that stuff like really interesting. And also, like, on Facebook, we're we can't even like post articles and stuff like that. I'm surprised that I can post my virtual book club on Facebook.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then, like, last week it was I don't know, Hal mentioned something about um I don't know, he said something about um yeah, you said something about what Canadians must think of Americans, and then you said, but we won't talk about it here. And I was thinking we should talk about it. Like, I mean, the book club is a book club, yes, but in the past, like, book clubs have been places to talk about current affairs and stuff like that that you wouldn't be able to say, like, um, to talk about in public or in the streets, or I don't know. I don't know. I just think that maybe the purpose of our book club could be to speak respectfully on those topics that are supposed to be taboo. I'm just curious what you were going to say but didn't, because as you know now, I don't see it. I can't see it unless I'm in the States and I'm looking at the TV.
Well, as an example, how much is the Canadian population aware of what the immigrations, customs, and enforcement is ICE is doing in some U.S. cities, specifically, right now, the arguably worst is in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. That came through the newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wonder like what view I got versus what view you Americans had.
I mean, the view is, going to be diametrically opposed depending on your political leanings for the most part. Either ICE is doing the right thing, and they need to do what they need to do because of so many illegals in the country, and others would say, no, what they're doing is trampling over the Bill of Rights, and acting like a paramilitary force as opposed to trying to manage immigration. And then arguably, if there were states where immigration should be the greatest issues, they would arguably be places like Texas and Florida, where there's a very high immigrant population. Not, but those states happen to be, Republican governor controlled states, as opposed to the cities that are experiencing ICE enforcement that may or may not be as prevalent with illegal immigrants, or but they're democratic controlled cities. So it's hard to have conversations like that doesn't stray into people's views on politics. And
Right.
that's what I was trying to avoid.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, like I'd like book club to be a place where we can like talk about these things without like having to back up our opinions, and but just talk about the viewpoints like you just did, Hal. Like, I don't know.
I think it depends on the types of books we
Yeah.
choose, because if we certainly can pick books that might be spur more I'll say political conversation. That
Yeah.
might turn some people off. Even
Oh,
if
totally. But we don't care. We just care about us. We just care about us. We're like who was it? In what book? It was the light that we cannot see.
Yeah.
We just like broadcast, but we don't care. Like somebody's out there, and I mean, we try to be as helpful as possible, but I don't know. All I know is 1929 is super interesting. The author did research into like court documents, letters between the players, notes passed in the hallways in these workplaces, and then the book. I guess this was in a court document. This part when Lamont, or no, not Lamont. Sorry, it was J.P. Morgan. So J.P. Morgan, and did you know that J.P. Morgan stands for the original one, not his son? The original J.P. Morgan was, I guess, J. I don't know what it stands for. Maybe Jack too. I don't know, but it stands for Jack or John Pierpont Morgan, right? And then
Sounds about right.
the junior was Jack, and then still J.P. Morgan. But JP Morgan himself, there was like a scandal, like, okay, so after the panic of 1907, the national political sentiment turned sharply against the New York banking establishment. Critics called it the money trust, and its members enriched themselves at the expense of ordinary Americans. The great monopoly in this country, said Woodrow Wilson early on his run for president in 1911, is the money monopoly. That same year, a congressional investigation was mounted by the Committee on Banking and Currency, led by Representative I'm gonna say Arsene P. Pujo of Louisiana. The main target was J. Pierpont Morgan himself. His health fading, Morgan was called to testify before Congress, facing off against an intelligent, ambitious lawyer named Samuel Untermeyer, who was the committee's counsel investigator. Morgan had spent his life trying to avoid such a public spectacle. In past years, he would have arranged to be out of the country until the scrutiny subsided, but now there was simply too much public pressure for him to avoid responding. Rather than hire a publicist to handle questions, Lamont convinced Morgan and his partners that he would handle the matter himself. In doing so, he assumed huge personal risk for his strategy, for if his strategy backfired, what standing would he have left at the firm? Lamont's plan was simple. He would meet with reporters, blah, blah, blah. And then the court proceedings, took place before Christmas 1912. This is on page 30, in case anyone's wondering. Morgan's performance over the course of 2 days was an epic clash of the old world running hard into the new. Under questioning by the hard-charging Untermeyer, Morgan fiercely held his ground, admitting nothing but that he had any influence whatsoever over the actions of others. And so, like, I guess the argument was, like, do the bankers have too much power over everyone? And like, this is in the early 1900s, people were saying this. The question was, your idea is when a man has vast power, such as you have, you admit, do you not? Sir, he totally quoted it from court records, because you can tell, right? Because it's like they're speaking in Shakespearean. But the court's asking, like, Untermeyer, this prosecutor, is asking JP Morgan that you admit you have a lot of power. And JP Morgan says, I do not know it, sir. And then the court says, you admit do you not? I do not think I have, says JP Morgan. And then they say, you do not feel it at all? And he says, no, I don't feel it.
What was he going to say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a robber baron.
Morgan made no attempt at persuasion or conciliation, rejecting any notion that the authority he wielded was the result of his own. And this, I always get this word wrong because I've never heard it said out loud. Is it machinations or machinations?
Machinations.
Own machinations. If other people deemed him powerful and bent their will to suit his, well, how could he be accountable for that? Perhaps the finest distillation of the Morgan creed came when Untermeyer pressed Morgan about the nature of credit. And this, I was like, what? Because, like, we all take credit for granted now, right? Like, we all have credit cards, and we're just slaves to these credit companies that charge us, like, these interest prices. And then, like, we suspect that behind the scenes, like it's just all like, I don't know. I don't know enough about banking and finance to be a critic, but I do feel like I'm like I feel like the institutions do have too much power. Like, why would you be charged like one quarter, like 25%, unless they're taking risk to, um, they're taking risk behind the scenes that I don't know about somewhere that I didn't have any say in. But why should I be paying for that risk? I don't know. I don't know. You have to set me straight if you hear me. Okay. So they say, is not commercial credit, the question is not commercial credit based primarily on money or property? And JP Morgan says, no, sir. The first thing is character. I'm like, oh, I'm getting my credit on my character.
Yeah, as long as you got good collateral to put against it, that character. I mean,
That's early in the 1900s.
The big banks, during this time period, the big banks, they were lending to, the larger companies, and they were also running investment banks, and so they got into speculating. But the vast majority of the banking in the U.S. were little small, banks, hometown banks in little towns that were doing, loans to the farmers and, having the little savings accounts and stuff like that, and so, what gets a lot of prominence in the book, understandably, is National City and J.P. Morgan Chase and the big banks, because they were speculating on the expectation that the market was always going to continue to go up. But what really hurt America was the thousands of banks, small, town banks, that had to shutter their doors because they were insolvent. And so you had people who, lost whatever meager savings they had.
But wait a minute. Is it because these small town banks, like I'm imagining Little House on the Prairie, did these small town banks not have their assets sitting like in a vault? Or how did the insolvent, like how did the big banks then, you know what I mean?
Well, the way, I don't mean to explain this in such a way that it's, not well understood, but, what a bank has in terms of cash on hand and ability to, pay depositors their money when they want their money out of their accounts is such a small fraction of the total number of deposits, because they're taking the deposits and turning it into loans.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of that, money just sitting around. So all it takes is a scare, and the typical run on the bank occurs. These people all start showing up, demanding, their money, and the bank's like, we don't got that,
Like
and
that,
so then that fear accelerates. And so
right.
you have a run on the bank, and their bank is insolvent. They can't serve the demand.
What's that classic movie? It's a black and white where that happened.
It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy
Yes,
Stewart.
It's a Wonderful Life. Is that what you were doing? That
is an example of a small town bank in that
right.
time period, that they
Right.
couldn't, but the fear, I mean,
Oh,
it happened not too long ago with Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah,
You know,
remember that.
um,
There was a run and
all it took is, was a different set of fears, but all it did was cause, concern about the solvency of the bank. So everybody runs to get their money out, which just, you know, makes it a self fulfilling prophecy because the bank can't
right.
cover it.
Well, and I remember like in our personal finance classes, and the banking system in Canada and the US is not exactly the same. But I remember in personal finance classes, they said that like for insurance purposes, you're only really covered to like 40 to $50,000. So,
Well, in this time period, there was not in the 20s and 30s, there was not deposit insurance at
oh,
all. That came sometime after all of this. And initially, I want to say it was 10,000. I don't know, maybe 20,000 max per account. But that it was an attempt to try and take some of the fear away from the small depositors that if the bank couldn't give you your money, you wouldn't lose it.
right. Well, I remember the advice was to put your money at different banks.
Well, as opposed to putting it under your mattress under the assumption that you're earning some type of interest. But
Right, I guess. But I mean, I guess you could be insured for 40 grand here, 40 grand here, and 40 grand here or
right.
something. But wow, like, I mean, does it ever, I don't know, like in like minds of like yourselves, or like, I'm going to ask all of you this question, like, um, and like, I wish Rob and Dana were part of this book club because they were, Dana especially, right? Because she's in fintech. Um, like, does there need to be re-regulation?
That's too broad of a question to try and answer.
Okay. I don't, I don't know how to like thin it down because I'm not like, I am the opposite of an expert in this area. My brother, who is in Vietnam right now, he is a CFA, so he's an expert. I could ask him, but he's in Vietnam.
Yeah, I mean, there are, pretty much any of the top 25, maybe 50, maybe even top 100 banks in the US are, technically too big to fail. If they
And
were
that was
to
his other.
fail, the impact to the financial system as a whole would be so great, we find ourselves, in at least a mini depression.
Okay.
Um,
So are you referencing his other book?
I haven't read it, but I mean, I'm sure that's the premise. A bank like Citicorp, a bank like Chase, that's got, hundreds of billions of dollars in assets. They touch all aspects of the global financial system. They couldn't, if they were to fail, you know,
Everybody
we
else would
would
suffer.
we would find ourselves in an economic world of hurt, whether you banked with them or not.
Right. And so that's why they get bailouts.
That's why when was it when Silicon Valley Bank failed because there was a run on their deposits. It started permeating to a couple of other banks, and I mean the Federal Reserve, was panicking. You have to make that decision. Back in when was it Washington Mutual failed in God, what year was that?
I'm sure we could Google.
2008, when the subprime mortgage crisis
Yeah.
resulted in some bank failures in Washington Mutual. There were debates as to whether or not to bail them out or not, and the Federal Reserve brokered a deal to sell it on the cheap, a no risk transaction to Chase, basically saying, if you find there are assets you don't want coming out of this sale, just put them back to us. So it was a no risk transaction, but it was the only way to kind of stem the bleeding.
Yeah. Did they do a good job of expressing that in, like, I don't, was it like The Wolf of Wall Street or something where they did a movie on that? Do you remember that?
I remember the movie, but I can't say.
Yeah, because I don't remember them using that part. Like, maybe it's because it's not Hollywood worthy. It's just boring banking, but
I don't remember the movie expressing that part.
yeah, me neither. I just remember, like, them showing the devastation level, like the bubble, and then can't even remember. I don't know. I don't know if movies quite match reality.
It would also be hard to translate that into a movie, if you want my honest opinion.
Oh, do you think so? Like, I think that movies are a great place for people to learn about this kind of stuff, because it's actually, like, it's too complex of topics for, like, the layman, and so movies make them more um, uh, you kind of grasp, like, the bigger concepts that you need
Yeah, I
without.
think that because movies are so expensive to produce, you know, it's not intended to be a low watched accurate documentary of what really happened. It's some sensationalized version with a big name star to get draw box office receipts.
Right, like Ryan Reynolds, or no, Ryan, I I don't know why I can't remember my favorite
Gosling.
Ryan's last name.
Gosling?
Gosling. I just got to remember little ducks. So Ryan Gosling is in the movie that we're reading next. Does that make sense? It's called Project Hail Mary, and I have this one on Audible, so I don't have it handy. But it's a big time author again. And so that's for March. And then for March, we're going to watch the movie and we're going to talk about the book and the movie together, right? Is that our plan?
Hopefully, I mean, the movie, I only know when it's being released in the US, and it's still slated for release on March 20th. So gives a few days from release date to the second date in March of our discussions on the book.
Okay. Michelle, you're being quiet.
Just listening.
Okay, so Michelle is speaking in March down in San Antonio. So what happens is they rotate the Orlando conference and the San Antonio conference year by year. So I guess 2025 was Orlando. This is San Antonio. 2026 will be Orlando again.
Got my cowboy boots all polished up.
Oh, are you gonna bring your cowboy boots? Like, I should bring mine too, I guess. Hey.
I am. I decided.
Okay.
They were a nice Christmas present to myself, so I figure I might as well get them out.
Okay. I should bring mine too,
I
because
have
you
to
know what?
commit to that packing job though.
All right. Cowboy
Well,
boots
They
are
that's
take up a
exciting.
lot of space. What's that?
That's exciting, I said.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. It's a topic I love, and it's nice to be able to do the big conference. I've only ever spoken at their fall one, which is a little bit smaller, so this will be my
Mhm.
first time on the spring one, which is their annual. So
well.
excited. Should be
I'm
good.
gonna I'm gonna be in the room, so you'll have
Yay! I'm excited for
opportunity.
some good faces. Yeah.
Yeah, like I might moderate it, so I'll be in the back of the room.
There you go. There you go.
Um, yeah,
If you can get everybody to handle the microphone situation. I love that they do it for both virtual and in person. Um, but sometimes that's really tough in a room to get people to pause and wait for microphones and all of that. But I like that they offer that because I've noticed a lot of folks are taking the virtual option this year. I think budgets and approvals are pretty tight for a lot of companies.
yeah,
So
and then like to let you guys know because I'm your friend. Um, I'm getting a hard time about going down to the States and spending my money down there. And some of them are like have the ability to watch me saying this on Facebook. I get judged. I get judged. They're like, I'm not spending my money down there until like they stop saying stuff. And it's like it's one person. It's a one.
well, I'm spending money north of the border as often as I can. So
Mm,
I want to share that. Like, and I
yeah,
just say that because we really appreciate the opportunity to be a border state, and it's part of it, right? Like the folks that we go and visit and the businesses we support are not in the middle of all of this, other than being drug in the middle of all of this. So
right.
it's
'Cause
and
Michelle
you know,
lives
we've been
near
treated so
Montreal.
well.
Like
Yeah,
Vermont
not
and Montreal are very close. They're like 2 hours apart, right?
Yeah, about an hour and a half or so, depending on traffic. And but there's a lot of towns in between that we go to. And like my husband and I spent some time last spring in Quebec City, and this was when everything was kind of blowing up in like April and like all the terrible times, right? But we went up and had a great time, and people were really kind to us, and we're happy to have our money
Mhm.
at that time. Though there were plenty of storefronts and windows with you know, sort of solidarity type of things for Canada, and I
Aw,
appreciated that. So like when you think of, you would expect us to be like,
hate it.
oh gosh, and it's not the case. Like I feel like a lot of this is mongering of like people that don't want
Yeah,
other people around. We had one instance where it was clear we weren't welcome, but we
right.
just went down the street and the next people were so happy to have our money. Like it's. So I guess I look at it that way, that we can make individual choices to better things, and every
Yeah,
chance we get, we do. So if that's any sentiment, like we're about supporting our communities. It doesn't draw the line for us.
totally. And especially like practically all of Canada is a border town, right? We don't live very far from the southern border, any of our cities, none of our cities. So like as um, if you live near the border, you know that how crucial people are like and even like there's families that are families across the borders. You realize how crucial the economy is between yourselves and others, even when you're American versus Canadian. Like it's just it's it's not politics, it's living. Yeah.
If you go into the grocery stores near us, there are many, many folks that are there. Less so now, but it's typical for folks to be doing grocery shopping on over in the US and all of the border towns that are little communities. Because once you cross the border, it's quite a ways before you start seeing lots of population. You're probably driving for 30 minutes before you see more than just small townships.
Cool. So like I guess I'm the only one that's, well, Stephen too. I mean, Stephen, I'm really enjoying this book. Michelle, have you started at all? Or are you just
I
gonna
have.
listen?
I have it. No, I have it on audiobook. I'm not sure how far in I was. I was literally listening to it, and I feel like it. The audiobook reads kind of like you're listening to a movie. So I
Yes.
probably did the poor thing where I'm like zoning out a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm not out on a nice walk like Hal does, but I was working on some stuff and listening to it, and I found that it kept my attention like as if I had a movie on and I was multitasking. So, though I laugh, you guys brought up Wolf of Wall Street, and there's just scenes in that I can't unsee. So I would love to I would love to focus on the concept of it, but I'm just like, wow, that was quite a movie. But interesting.
I don't remember
Oh,
what
there's some
crazy
wild
scenes.
stuff.
Was it when they were
Yeah,
like doing coke or something?
there was lots of that. Yeah, lots
It
of
was that plus
pretty
more Benita.
plus more. Good job, Steve. I was like, save me, someone save me. I don't want to say.
Yeah, I don't
I
Yeah.
got you. I got you,
remember. I don't
Michelle.
remember. I don't
Thank
remember the
you.
inappropriate parts.
I'm not on camera, but I'm blushing, Benita. I'm blushing.
Oh my goodness. Well, um, yesterday I did a supply chain Canada webinar on Kuzma, on the Kuzma review, and it reminded me of this. Remember Hal? This is how I met Hal and Robert and everybody is
Yeah.
Trent Russell, our mutual connection. He does the audit podcast, and then he had me on his episode, and this was back in 2020 when the USMCA was first inked. And then, I mean, I just really talked about the verifications, like often, like NAFTA / USMCA audits, and the title of mine was, "Hey, I got your Coke over the border," because I had a story about that, but it wasn't Coke.
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
It
That's
was
awesome.
cherry Coke that I had an addiction to, and my connection over the border had access to cherry Coke, and so she brought it over the border to meet with me. And then on the phone line with all the executives present, or our leaders or managers, I can't remember, she said, "Hey, I got your Coke over the border."
I
So,
feel as passionately about your Vanilla Crush, by the way.
oh,
So just,
really?
oh yeah, I'm not a soda drinker. It's poison, right? It's no good. Except
Mm,
there's two that just, okay, three. There's three that will get me once in a while.
okay,
And
tell
you're
me.
gonna get ready to judge.
Okay.
Mountain Dew, definitely, which is terrible. It's probably one of the worst ones. It glows. Like, what is that doing to my insides?
I know
Doc
it
Dr.
blows.
Pepper, absolutely love a Dr. Pepper. But I
Don't
shake
you
it
guys
up
have Dr.
until
Pepper?
we have Dr. Pepper, but I just, yeah, I'm not a
Oh, I
big
thought,
soda drinker, but that one's one I really like. And then that Vanilla Crush from Canada, it's in a pink can. We can't get it here, and it is delicious. It's a cream soda, and it's so good, and it's so bad for you because you can just tell it's full of sugar. Very sweet. But at the
yeah.
holidays, my brother-in-law's Canadian, and he always makes sure there's some at the Thanksgiving table and Christmas and such. So. Um, those are my guilty pleasures on the soda side. Not Coke, but I can feel the need for the soda you can't get for sure.
Yeah, I don't drink it often, just when I'm down in the States and it's a hot day, which is often that happens often in the States. Um, so what's going on with the rest of the week? Did someone just appear? Oh no, someone got a message. Okay, so what I'm planning to do is go through the book and make it to the pictures. That's my That's my
Oh no, I'm gonna miss pictures with my Audible one.
I wonder if the pictures are included, because I think Hal said that sometimes they give you a PDF, and you got to
Oh,
look for it.
Yeah, I
You
don't
gotta,
know about that for this book. I mean, the pictures are just a bunch of people from the 1920s and 30s.
yeah. And New York Times headlines like stocks collapse in six. I don't know numbers. Stocks collapse in 16 4 10 30 share day, but rally at close. Cheers, brokers, bankers optimistic to continue aid. Republicans hope to hold Walker to 250,000 margin as omen of 1930 victory. Stocks up again on flood of buying. Discount rate cut here and in London. Back to normal. Reserve board finds. Huh. Hoover appeals for speed on tariff debating. Senators see no hope for bill. Republicans admit coalition control. Oh, I might look into this, Michelle. President Hoover's declaration on the tariff bill in response to the representations of senators. Yeah, no, and that's one of the parallels that we can draw too is like the tariff situations because Smoot-Hawley was back then too, right? It's like in the
Yes.
1930s.
Yep.
I just learned, Michelle, that there were no HS codes back then.
oh my gosh, what a delight that must have been. Oh my gosh, we're like drowning in them now. That's
Yeah, like what do
interesting.
you? How do you know? I don't I can't wrap my head around it.
That's funny.
Okay, we're gonna do one more of these, and I expect Hal will be finished. And there's not going to be a grand finale ending or anything like that. It basically just goes through the entire time period and talks about all the characters. Maybe we can go into depth about the characters next time.
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, we don't have time for today, but I as the older I get, the more fascinated I am with how certain presidents and congresses dealt with the crises of the day that they were facing, and reading how they so reading how how Truman didn't really take a whole lot of action, especially
Right.
when he realized he was going to lose to Roosevelt. So and then kind of Roosevelt. I mean, he started his first of his unprecedented 4 presidential terms. He started in the 30s dealing with the aftermath of the Depression, and he ended as the U.S. was fully into World War II.
Right.
I mean, you think about what he had to deal with, and to be able to sustain the confidence of the voting public, to be able to continue to win during all those crises.
Do you think that what was when we read Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Kearns Goodwin?
Mm-hmm.
She says 1929 is mesmerizing from beginning to end, a deeply important book. Did she define that Roosevelt as a transformational or a leader through crisis or what?
Yes, as a
What?
leader through crisis.
Okay, got it. And that's exactly what he appears to be in this book too.
And someone like her who is a historian, I could see historians loving this book,
Oh, loving.
right? Because it's deeply researched and it fills in gaps of
As I
knowledge.
get older, as I get older, I love history. Like, I didn't really like it back when I was younger.
Same here.
Yeah. Now it's
Same.
like now it's like a crystal ball.
Well, I think part of it is, for me at least, that, as I paid more and more attention to, over the years, to current events, and regardless of administration, having disappointments with the way things were handled, right? So it makes me wonder, well, bigger, tougher issues were dealt with in the past. Washington and the founding of the Republic, and Lincoln and slavery, and emancipation and the Civil War. I mean, what Roosevelt was going through to deal with. How did they, how does, these people who are just ordinary people,
Right, human
how
beings.
do they, manage, through all of that?
Yeah, and how was it I'd like to ask them, but they're all deceased. Um, was it easier? Do they think it would be easier with or without social media? And I think the answer would be, I think, like, it's easier without, because
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
word gets spread so fast, so misinformation is like goes at 10 times the speed as truth. So I don't know. So those are the, like, I guess that's one of the things that we should I don't know if you're up to it, if everybody is up to it, like those are the things that maybe we could start talking about at book club, like current events related to the topics in the books. And like we're not gonna it did happen one time, and we're not gonna let it happen again. But if there's any sort of disrespect or um like I don't know, who am I to judge? But actually I do know how to judge, and I just like silence you by knocking you out of the room, I guess.
You're the host, so you could do whatever the hell you want. You're
Yeah, I'm
ruthless after
brutal.
all.
I'm brutal. I'm sorry, like you have to put up with this dictator of a book club host. But I'm filled with power, and it's it just makes me hungry. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. I tried to start a gang, but it turned into a book club. Remember that? My sister got me a picture. We've gone overtime. That's a good book club. Okay, I don't know how I would stay sane without you guys. So thank you for coming. And I enjoy our conversations in our chat and in the studio. And I thank you all for participating.
Yeah.
And
Stephen and Benita, get your votes in for April's selection.
oh, okay. I thought the one that you chose looked really good.
Well,
Will do.
both selections are really good books. So both
Oh,
ones
I didn't see the other one.
both
Okay.
ones I have but have not read. So
Okay. I'll go check it out.
All right, I'll take a look.
all right.
Okay.
Looking forward to
See you
seeing you soon. All right.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.